Therefore, start. I would welcome today or tonight. It is in Mississippi where Gracia Burns is located. It is close to 1 p.m. In my area, in my place, in a Central European time, it is close to 8 p.m. Therefore, evening. And I would like to welcome Gracia Burns here with us. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so let me tell you a few words about Gracia. So she is the founder of the Noteworthy Communications, and her main area and main purpose is truly through the communication specific approaches that she will tell us about. She is in the area of communication mindset and the American accent coaching that I might be coach as well one day on, right? If I would like to develop really my English speaking skills. So this is really something fascinating also for myself. She's located in USA, Mississippi, and she will definitely tell us about herself more, and we will get to know about her specific approaches and how this all unfolded in her life through the interview that we will have. This will be something as an interview, as our freely talk. So this will be something really, really special, I believe, for the others also to consume and to listen to. So I've connected with the Croatia because I feel that this is really, I was really fascinated by her communication styles and her teachings. And I would want right now, Gracia, tell us a little bit about how she got to what she is doing right now. What was the journey? If you can make it a little bit specific for all of us.
Absolutely. So my journey really began with teaching English as a foreign language. That's where it started. I had always wanted to do that. That was something I learned as a teenager, that I can teach English as a foreign language and travel around the world and meet people. And I thought that's me, that's my life. That's who I'm going to be. I did not get to do that exactly
Mhm.
how I wanted. And because of that, I was able to collect data. Being, as we were
Mhm.
talking, being the
Mhm.
very right brain, left brain person that I am, I wanted to do something creative, but I had to do the very analytical thing first. And so I collected data for nearly 20 years and doing office administration.
Mhm.
And then I got to teach English as a foreign language. So I moved to Hamburg, Germany, and I taught. And my very first class, I was teaching business English. And I was stunned when my students were asking me questions that were not found in the textbook at all. Because I'm
Mhm.
thinking,
Mhm.
this is exactly what, all the answers are in the textbook. No, they needed authenticity. They needed to understand how to communicate authentically. So that led me to creating my own training, and I was able to expand quite quickly in as a freelancer. And then fast forward several years of teaching online and fast forward to where we are today, I have created a program or multiple programs really teaching communication mindset, where it all started with English as a foreign language. I realized that there was a gap, there was a disconnect. People are learning to communicate, but now they've learned, but now what's next? What's the next step? The
Mhm.
next step is to communicate as yourself, communicate authentically. You have the thoughts, you have the ideas, but now we must be you. Use those words to sound like you. And and this has even evolved into not just English learners, English language learners, but native English speakers, anyone,
Absolutely.
even using these concepts to understand and communicate in your own language, your own native language. And even understanding how to communicate in relationships, how to communicate with family, how to communicate through other aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I use food as a way of expressing myself, and I never realized that until recently, that food baking is actually one of my most expressive ways of communication. Never even realized that. So, yeah, and that's a whole other topic we
How
can get into. But
fascinating.
yeah.
So if I may get you, to the point of at the very beginning, I'm trying to understand and imagine what was happening at that moment with your students at the very beginning when you have seen them as in this mirroring effect of, receiving those questions to those way of learning to communicate. Yeah, so what was happening, what was coming to your mind as like by understanding what they may mean by what they're asking? If you know what I'm like getting into, this is very difficult aspect of it, right?
Exactly. It is. They were asking to reframe my answer. What the book was offering, and this is what happens with a lot of language programs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It tells you in this scenario, say this,
mm-hmm.
right? That's how we learn language. In this scenario, only one possible scenario, this is how you respond.
Yes.
So they are working in industries that are not listed in the book. They are working in, they have job titles that are not listed in the textbook. So, how can I tell someone in this one scenario, say this one thing when the textbook doesn't have their industry, their department, their job title, it doesn't have all of those nuances.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving a presentation, and when this happens, say this. When this happens, say this. And then they're looking at me going, okay, so I have a meeting coming up, and like, okay, well, the book says this. But their question is not, I'm not able to answer the question just through finding a chapter in the textbook. That's when I started realizing I've worked in office administration for almost 20 years. I haven't experienced any of these examples that are in the textbook. This is curriculum. I haven't even experienced this. So how can I expect to teach someone something that even I haven't experienced in all of my various agencies and departments and
Mm-hmm.
everything that I've done? And that's when I started realizing it wasn't so specific that they were asking me a specific question. It was more, I'm realizing that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there is no answer that is black and white. Each person in my classroom had a different job title. They might all work for the same company, but they have a different job title, different responsibility. They have different tenure. They've been with the company for different years. They have a different educational background. I can't just say, in this scenario, say this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that.
So in that
So I
concept,
started asking them, yeah.
yes, yes. In the concept of that teachings, that would mean that that cannot be simply followed, right?
Right,
And
right.
applied to all the scenarios. That means that that concept, how this is being created, how this is being also targeted to what
Mm-hmm.
audience it can serve, to what students, is misleading, right?
Correct, correct. It's a good baseline.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never worked for a company before, if you are brand new to business English, Here is a baseline to get you started. Great. Yes. But what if you've been working for the company for years? What if you've studied the language your whole life? What if you are a native speaker? Then what? And
Exactly.
this is
Mhm.
why it's so limiting, and so many people will go through the programs and they're useful. I'm not saying anything negative about the programs. They are useful, they are beneficial, they are wonderful. But once you've done that, what is beyond the textbook? And that is where I really took over and where I was able to speak authentically,
Mhm.
because I could see how limiting this was. And I could see the frustration in everyone's faces. And I was able then to take my experience and my authentic voice and say, okay, wait, so I worked in an industry that was similar to this. I worked in a role that was similar to this, or I've had the exact same job. We I work for the American version of your company. Or even
Yeah, you
the
can
exact same company,
identify
just the
this
American
magic.
branch. Yes. So been there, done that. This is how we handle it. This is what we say. This is how we do it. And that was much more meaningful because I made it more personable
Mhm.
rather than generic, just, yeah, just generic statements. And
Mhm.
it's fine to have a baseline, but once you've really established, once you can read the entire textbook and you understand it, then what's next? How do you apply it to the real world? That's where the real magic comes in, when you get to apply it to the real world. And that's my strength. That's what I do best, is looking at the individual rather than the company as a
Mhm.
whole.
Mhm.
No, I want the individual person,
So
that
the
individual, unique,
first
beautiful butterfly.
correction
Yes.
that can be done in this scenario
Hmm.
is to look at the individuality and to look inside of us, right? Rather than
Yeah.
looking for the approaches that are available to us. And we can call them generic approaches, generic, scenarios that we may follow, rather than to look into us at the level of how we understand the information, the level of where we are at and where we are aiming to get to, right?
Right.
And according
Right.
to then acquire that knowledge, right? So how is that, we will do this course correction then? What approach we will then follow? What am I, if I am your student, yeah, what approach am I supposed to follow? And I know that you have a specific approaches. I will
Yeah.
name here the one of them, and that is that you are the queen of the discipline quiz, if that is one of them, if
Yeah.
I'm correct.
Yes. Yes, my Queen of Discipline quiz. That is a communication archetype quiz that I created, that you can find out how you communicate, because we all have unique styles. So what is your communication archetype? That's the first step, is identifying who you are as the individual. And the quiz is one way to get in there and really understand the best way for you to start articulating your thoughts and ideas. And that's just one way to get in, one way to start. And there are four main archetypes that I created. So yeah, you can definitely do the quiz and figure out which one is your voice, and it helps to minimize all of the additional fluff out there that has nothing to do with you, but
Mhm.
also going even further and understanding what are your communication needs in the first place, and how do you see yourself when you communicate? Do you feel totally comfortable and confident and you can speak in any situation, in any scenario, but maybe you just want to, you
Let us therefore start.